Om Jnanatimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militanjena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatjade Shatarane Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. So welcome everyone to this evening's class number 2 in the series of the glories of Lord Chaitanya in Navadvipa Dham and Jagannath Puri Dhams. So today we're going to talk about Mayapur or Navadvip as Audarya Dham. And for this class, I'm going to refer a lot to, I'll be reading some sections from the Navadvip Dham Mahatmya by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in which he narrates the parikram that Lord Nityananda led for Jiva Goswami around Navadvip Dham. It's very transcendental. And I'll also read a section from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So the word Audarya is a Sanskrit word which means like generosity, magnanimity, and liberality. So this word is specifically mentioned in the Navadvip Dham Mahatmya. And I'm going to be going to page 23 here. So I'm reading from the book. Navadvip Dham is the topmost of all holy places. After crossing over the Viraja river, one comes to the spiritual sky. Penetrating beyond the spiritual sky, one arrives at the spiritual Vaikuntha planets. Far beyond the Vaikuntha planets is the supreme spiritual planet of Goloka. Penetrating further within Goloka, one may find Krishna Loka and Gokula Vrindavan. In that highest world, transcendental mellow or rasa exhibits itself in 2 features: sweetness, which is madhurya, and distribution of sweetness, which is audarya. Audarya is fully present within madhurya, and madhurya is fully present in audarya. In Vrindavan, which is blessed with all auspiciousness, the primary mood is madhurya, confidential sweetness, whereas in Navadvip, the primary mood is always audarya, or generous distribution of that sweetness. This is the conclusion of the Vedas. There is no difference between Navadvip and Vrindavan, except for this distinction in the way that rasa is exhibited. In Vrindavan, sweetness is predominant in a closed circle. And in Navadvip, that sweetness is generously distributed. So I thought that was a very interesting nuance to the difference between Vrindavan and Navadvip. So yeah, in Vrindavan, the sweetness of Radha and Krishna's pastimes, of bhakti, of that loving mood of the Brajavasis for Krishna is, it's in a closed circle. it's closed. Whereas in Navadvip, it's totally open. It's just distributed. The mood is just give it to everyone. Just take it, right? Like that. So we're going to look at a couple of aspects of this generous, liberal mood of Navadvip Dham. So one of those generous aspects of Navadvip Dham is that there's no consideration of offenses. And I'm also going to read from Navadvip Dham Mahatmya on this. This is from chapter 1, page 4. One may worship Krishna lifetime after lifetime and never achieve divine love of Krishna. This is because in the course of one's worship, he is sure to commit many sins and offenses. And one who chants the holy name of Krishna can achieve the ecstasy of divine love only if he chants without offenses. The worship of Sri Chaitanya, however, is much different. By worshiping Sri Chaitanya, even a soul plagued by offenses attains the treasure of love of Godhead. As soon as one cries out, Nitai Chaitanya, divine love of Godhead begins searching him out. So as soon as we just call out, Nitai Chaitanya, then what to speak of us having to go and try to find and endeavor and work very hard to get love of Godhead? Love of Godhead comes looking for us to pour itself on our heads. It says, even offenses cannot block such a person's progress. And soon he sheds tears of ecstasy and divine love. By the mercy of Sri Chaitanya, offenses soon disappear. Yeah, so this is how it happens, is that the person who's committing so many offenses, as soon as they start chanting Nitai Chaitanya and taking shelter of Lord Chaitanya through devotional service and the chanting of the holy names, then the person becomes cleansed of the offenses disappear. So the offenses go away. So it's not that we stay offensive, but Lord Chaitanya just immediately clears out all those offenses. And then we cease being offensive. So yeah, by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya, offenses soon disappear and the heart is cleansed and filled with divine love. No one can live in the present age of Kali Yuga without committing innumerable sins. Therefore, no one can be delivered without calling on the name of Sri Chaitanya. And so I see no other way for deliverance in this age of Kali than to chant the name of Sri Chaitanya, worship Sri Chaitanya, and follow Sri Chaitanya's teachings. This is the verdict proclaimed by the revealed scriptures. He continues, because that great Messiah, Lord Chaitanya, appeared in Navadvipa Dham like a golden moon. Navadvipa is the crest jewel of all holy places. One who commits offenses in any other holy place is punished for his crimes. But in Navadvipa Dham, even offenders are purified of all sins. The two brothers Jagai and Madhai stand witness to this fact. What to speak of ordinary holy places? Even in Vrindavan, offenders are punished as demons. In Navadvipa Dham, however, one who has committed hundreds and hundreds of crimes is easily saved by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. Therefore, the rishis praise the holy land of Navadvipa Dham, which lies within the circle of Goda Mandala, as the most magnanimous of all holy places. So that's one of the Audarya aspects of Navadvipa Dham, is that there's no consideration of offenses. Even the most offensive person becomes free from offenses and becomes offenseless. So then another generous feature of Navadvipa Dham is that one gets all the benefits of all the other holy places and also all the other processes of religion just by visiting Navadvipa Dham. So I'm going to continue reading here from Navadvipa Dham Mahatya. Whatever benefit one gets by traveling to all other holy places is attained just by remembering Navadvipa Dham. In this way, the scriptures sing the glories of Navadvipa Dham. He who sees Navadvipa Dham will attain eternal divine love of Krishna. Even one who comes to Navadvipa with his mind bent on gaining material comforts through pious activities will attain a higher than human birth in his next life. The scriptures confirm that one who walks through Navadvipa Dham achieves with each step the merits of 10 million Ashvamedha horse sacrifices. One who lives in Navadvipa and softly chants mantras soon obtains the sound Chaitanya as his mantra and easily gains deliverance. What is attained by great yogis after spending 10 years in another holy place is easily realized by anyone who spends only 3 nights in Navadvipa Dham. And we're going to spend more than 3 nights, so there you go. In other holy places, one can gain liberation only by developing complete knowledge of Brahman. But that liberation can be easily had by anyone who once bathes in the Ganges in Navadvipa. In this way, not by scholarship, mental speculation, or philosophical calculation, but simply by living in Navadvipa Dham, one can easily attain the different kinds of liberation. Pleasure and salvation fall at the lotus feet of the pure devotees in Navadvipa and beg for service. Although devotees reject these worldly blessings, pleasure and salvation remain at their feet as obedient maidservants. In conclusion, whatever can be obtained after spending 100 years in the 7 most important holy places in India can be attained by spending 1 night in Navadvipa Dham. Navadvipa Dham is the sum total of all holy places. By taking shelter there, all souls can easily cross over Kali Yuga. In Navadvipa Dham, the holy name of Ram, which grants deliverance, and the holy name of Krishna, which awards divine love of Godhead, constantly serve the devotees of the Dham. So this is really ecstatic realizations that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is sharing with us. So from these descriptions, we can see that, Navadvipa is really the topmost of all the holy places. And we were hearing about how it's non-different from Vrindavan, because in both Navadvipa and Vrindavan, the highest, sweetest rasa of Radha and Krishna's love for each other is prominent. But the thing is that in Vrindavan, it's confidential, whereas in Navadvipa, it's freely distributed. So therefore, Navadvipa is more exalted. And this mood of distributing love of God and knowledge of Krishna is the mood of Lord Chaitanya, because Lord Chaitanya comes in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And we see in Bhagavad Gita that Krishna's mood is very different, actually. That after speaking the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says in 1867 that this knowledge has to be kept very confidential. He says this confidential knowledge may never be explained to those who are not austere or devoted or engaged in devotional service, nor to one who is envious of me. And before that, Krishna told Arjuna that I'm speaking this to you, Arjuna, because you're my devotee and also you're my friend and you're not envious of me. But this knowledge is not for everyone. So Krishna's mood is that knowledge about bhakti has to be carefully guarded. And also, if you look at the Sanskrit of that verse, Bhagavad Gita 1867, it's very clear, Krishna's mood. He's like, so the Sanskrit goes, idam te na tapaskaya. So he's saying na tapaskaya, people who are not austere. He says this knowledge should never be given. So not, you'll see the word na is repeated 4 times in this verse, and the word na means never, like never tell those people about bhakti. So he says idam te na tapaskaya, na bhaktaya kadachana, na chashushave vachyam, and na chamam yo vyasuyate. So Krishna is saying na, 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 na. But Srimati Radharani's mood is yeah, 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 yeah. That's the difference. So that's because Radharani is the embodiment of Krishna's compassion. So she wants to distribute the knowledge of Krishna to everyone. But the trouble is that when she comes with Krishna in Vrindavan, there are restrictions. So, Radharani can't go around talking about Krishna. She can't talk freely about Krishna at all, because her whole relationship with Krishna is parakiya rasa, right? It's unwedded love. So it has to be kept a secret. It's the biggest secret in Vrindavan. Radharani can't talk about Krishna except just with her very close associates, but she can't have this mood of just distributing, telling everybody about it. But Lord Chaitanya, he's in a better position because he has this Radharani's mood of compassion and mercy and generosity. And at the same time, there are no restrictions, because after all, he's Krishna, the fully independent supreme controller of everything. So no one can restrict Krishna. Krishna is above all restrictions. And so he can just give the mercy. He can just give knowledge. He can give love of God and talk about Krishna and tell everyone about Krishna, and very freely. So now I'm going to read a little bit from Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Adi Lila, chapter 7, starting from text 20, and I'll read several verses. So starting from text 20. Se panchatatvamili pritivi asya purva prema bandharera mudra ughadila panche mili lute prema kare ashvadana yatta yatta piye trishna badhe anukshana. Translation: the characteristics of Krishna are understood to be a storehouse of transcendental love. Although that storehouse of love certainly came with Krishna when he was present, it was sealed. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with his associates, the Panchatattva, they broke the seal and plundered the storehouse to taste transcendental love of Krishna. And the more they tasted it, the more their thirst for it grew. Srila Prabhupada writes here in the purport, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is called Mahabhadanya Avatar, because although he is Sri Krishna himself, he is even more favorably disposed to the poor fallen souls than Lord Sri Krishna. When Lord Sri Krishna himself was personally present, he demanded that everyone surrender unto him and promised that he would give one all protection. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to this earth with his associates, he simply distributed transcendental love of God without discrimination. So he didn't even say you have to surrender. He didn't make any requirements. Just give love of God to everyone. So continue here, text 22. Puna puna piyaya hayamaha matta nache kande hase gaya yaiche madamatta. Sri Panchatattva themselves danced again and again, and thus made it easier to drink nectarian love of Godhead. They danced, cried, laughed, and chanted like madmen, and in this way they distributed love of Godhead. Text 23. Patra patra vichara nahi nahi stana stana ye yanha payatanha kare premadana. In distributing love of Godhead, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates did not consider who was a fit candidate and who was not, nor where such distribution should or should not take place. They made no conditions. Wherever they got the opportunity, the members of the Panchatattva distributed love of Godhead. Dutiya kaya diya bandara ujade ascharya bandara prema shataguna bhade. Although the members of the Panchatattva plundered the storehouse of love of Godhead and ate and distributed its contents, there was no scarcity, for this wonderful storehouse is so complete that as the love is distributed, the supply increases hundreds of times. The more they distributed, the more they had to distribute. That's an important point to remember. Text 25. Uchalila prema vanya chodike vedaya strivridha balaka yuva sabare dubaya. The flood of love of God had swelled in all directions, and thus young men, old men, women, and children were all immersed in that inundation. Sajjana durjana pangu jada andhagana prema vanyaya dubaila jagatera jana. The Krishna consciousness movement will inundate the entire world and drown everyone, whether one be a gentleman, a rogue, or even lame, invalid, or blind. This is a nice prediction by Lord Chaitanya here at Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Krishna consciousness movement will inundate the entire world. And Prabhupada brings this out in the purport that specifically said Jagatera. So it's not just, it's not limited to any geographical area or any class of people, but it's literally the whole wide world, Jagatera. So yeah. Jagat dubila jivera haila bijanasha tadeki pancha janera parama ulasa. When the 5 members of the Panchatattva saw the entire world drown in love of Godhead and the seed of material enjoyment in the living entities completely destroyed, they all became exceedingly happy. So this one word here, dubila, it's kind of like an onomatopoeia in Bengali. So it means drown, dubila. So it's like, when you drown, it's like dub, 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 dub. Dubila. So it repeats this, like the last, all of the last few verses, it uses this word drown, it drowns them all. So what he's drowning, he says here, is the seed of material enjoyment. So when there's a big flood and the water stays a long time, then all the small plants in there, they die because they can't stay with that much water on top of them. So in the same way, when we become flooded, yeah, Lord Chaitanya's whole thing is you don't need to get rid of all your material desires and all your material attachments first before taking to bhakti. Don't worry about it. Just flood everybody. This is his strategy. Just flood everybody with so much love of Godhead that all the material desires and all the attachments and desire for material enjoyment, it all just gets smothered. It just can't survive underneath the flood waters of love of Godhead. So this is Lord Chaitanya's mood. And also it's our mood, distributing the mercy. Srila Prabhupada started ISKCON with this mood and just flooding the whole world. What's it say here? Jagatera, Dubaila Jagatera Jana. Just drowning all the people of the whole wide world in love of God. Prema Vanyaya, the inundation of love of Godhead. And he encouraged distribution. So yeah, we were hearing about how Audarya, Madhurya means sweetness, and Audarya means distribution of the sweetness. So Prabhupada encouraged distribution of Krishna consciousness to everyone. Book distribution, prasadam distribution of the holy names. And Srila Prabhupada came up with so many strategies to try to catch everyone. And so we need to come up with, so many strategies to try to catch not just the low-hanging fruits, so to speak, but everyone. Everyone has to get caught in this flow and get drowned in the floodwaters of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. And we see here in the verses that I'm going to read in a second, how Lord Chaitanya also strategized on how to attract everyone. So I'm going to read here from text 29. Mayavadi karmanishta kutarkika gana nindaka pashandiyata paduva adama se sabha mahadaksha dana palaila se vanyata sabare chunite narila. Translation: the impersonalists, fruitive workers, false logicians, blasphemers, non-devotees, and lowest among the student community are very expert in avoiding the Krishna consciousness movement, and therefore the inundation of Krishna consciousness cannot touch them. Tahadeki Mahaprabhu Karena Chintana Jagat Dubaita Ami Karilunyatana Keha Keha Edaila Pratigyahaila Banga Tasaba Dubaita Patibag Kichuranga. Seeing that the Mayavadis and others were fleeing, Lord Chaitanya thought, I wanted everyone to be immersed in this inundation of love of God, but some of them have escaped. Therefore, I shall devise a trick to drown them also. Lord Chaitanya is the coolest. All right. Ettabali mane kichu kariya vichara sannyasa ashrama prabhu kaila angikara. Thus the Lord accepted the sannyas order of life after full consideration. So this was the reason why Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. And also he took sannyas in the Mayavad line, that Keshava Bharati Goswami was a Mayavadi sannyasi, and Lord Chaitanya took initiation from him. Even though Lord Chaitanya openly states later in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that, there's that verse, Prabhu Kave, Prabhu Kahe Mayavadi Krishna Aparadhi. He says these Mayavadis are Krishna Aparadhis. They're just so offensive to Krishna, but still he took sannyas from a Mayavadi, just as a strategy, so that they would listen to him, so that they would become convinced about bhakti. So Srila Prabhupada, also following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya, was a great strategist. He tried so many ways to attract people to Krishna consciousness. And we continue to do this. So this is the line of Audarya. We're in the Audarya succession, the disciplic succession of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya is the Sampradaya of Audarya. So when we go to Mayapur, we'll see this mood of Lord Chaitanya. We'll be able to feel it. And while we're there, we should try to really, imbibe it. Just try to soak it up like a sponge and benefit from it as much as we can. Because that's also it means also accepting what Lord Chaitanya is giving. Lord Chaitanya is giving this treasure of love of God. He's giving it very generously, very freely, without considering who's qualified. So that means that we too can get it. We just have to be open to receiving it. We just have to not, close our palms and cross our arms and hide from it. But even if we hide from it, like we heard, if we call out Nitai Chaitanya, then love of God is going to come tracking us down. It's going to somehow or other find us while we're in Mayapur. So yeah, we should try to really soak it in, imbibe this mood as much as we can, and then bring it back with us. Soak up that mercy, and then become inspired to distribute the mercy to whoever we meet when we get back to the USA, or some of the devotees on this yatra will be from the UK also. So whatever our respective preaching fields are, then we should take that gift of Lord Chaitanya, the gift of love of God, the gift of the sweetness of the Lord's transcendental pastimes, and then get also the mood of distributing that sweetness. And when we come back to our homes after visiting the holy Dham, Navadvipa Dham, to just distribute it freely in that same mood that we want to just flood the world, just flood everybody's heart and everybody's life with Krishna's mercy by the holy name. So yeah, I live here at Krishna House in Gainesville, and I was reflecting on how, Krishna House and the whole, now we're establishing Krishna houses all over North America. And this Krishna House is really a manifestation of Lord Chaitanya's Audarya mood. They're like, really all of Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON temples are like embassies of that original Audarya Dham. And so here at Krishna House, we have Gornitai as our presiding deities. So we should always be trying to find ways to catch everyone in the flood of Gornitai's mercy. And I was thinking about how when Srila Prabhupada was in Atlanta and he was giving that arrival address class and talking about how Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda have kindly appeared here just to give their mercy. And Srila Prabhupada, he looked at the deities there of Gornitai on the altar, and he was moved to tears. He just started speaking, and after a couple of minutes, he became so emotional, just meditating on the deep, deep, fathomless mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda in coming here, coming to a place like Atlanta or any Western city to distribute love of God. Prabhupada, he couldn't speak anymore. He just had to stop his lecture. And also when Prabhupada came to Gainesville, he commented that it was amazing that Lord Chaitanya's mercy had come to such a remote corner of the universe, so far from its origin in Sridham Mayapur. So now we're here in this remote corner, these, our respective remote corners of the universe. We're in our embassies of Audarya Dham, and soon we'll be going to the source of this mercy. We'll be going to its origin, Sridham Mayapur, which is the place where it all began. So let's try to go there with this mood of filling up our hearts with Lord Chaitanya's mercy, coming back and giving it to the people in our local areas. And that will be very pleasing to Gornitai. And it will be very pleasing to all the acharyas. And it'll also give great pleasure to us. We'll also get the mercy, because like we saw that in the text 24, it said that by there was no scarcity, for this wonderful storehouse is so complete that as the love is distributed, the supply increases hundreds of times. So there's no limit to love of God. The more it's distributed, the more it increases. So the more we give, the more we're going to get. So let's go and get it, and let's come back and give it. And then by giving it, we get more And then whatever more we get, we give that out too. And then we again get 100 times more. And then we give that out too. And then on and on. This is Lord Chaitanya's Audarya Leela that continues to the present day. And in this way, Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement is Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. It's an ever increasing ocean of transcendental bliss. So, Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki Jai. Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki Jai. Shri Navadvipa Dham Audarya Dham ki Jai. All right. Any questions on any of these points or comments or additions?
My body and start following what you tell me.
Yeah, I've got Kaylee here. She's asking if the Mayavadis actually started following Lord Chaitanya. And yeah, like quite a lot of them did. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was an impersonalist. He became a devotee. Prakashananda Saraswati, he was a Mayavadi sannyasi. He was actually the leader of the Mayavadis. In Varanasi, he became a devotee, and so many of his followers also became devotees. So yeah, it worked. And yeah, because he took sannyas in the Mayavadi line, then they invited him to this big convention of Mayavadi sannyasis. And Lord Chaitanya was so sweet and so humble. You know, he went to the event. He was there and he like just sat down in a place, you know, where everyone washes their feet there very humbly. But they could see that he was so effulgent. He was like glowing, and they said, everyone was like, who is that? That's somebody special. So they took him. They said, don't sit here in this dirty place. Come here. We can see that you're the most exalted out of all of us just from your physiognomy, just by your appearance and your effulgence. So please speak. And then he spoke. And he kind of like did his bridge preaching to bring them all to bhakti. So, Jai. Anything else? Yeah, Brihat?
Yeah, I was going to just appreciate the mood that you're sharing with us, that we should go to Mayapur and soak up Lord Chaitanya's magnanimity and try to bring it back with us. And that it was also really striking. I never considered before that Srimati Radharani's relationship with Krishna is so confidential that she can't be in that mood of sharing with everybody and telling everybody about Krishna. But Lord Chaitanya is able to do that. So I really, really like that point. I've never heard it before. And I'm just excited to go and try to absorb in that mood because I've been praying for that mood. This is such a wonderful opportunity to go deeper into Lord Chaitanya's magnanimous mood.
Jai. Yeah, and you can feel it when you go to Mayapur. It's like, I mean, I lived in Mayapur for 9 years, and it's just like, you just hear the holy name. You just hear the Hare Krishna mantra being broadcast like all day long. There's a Harinam, either it's Kirtan in the Prabhupada's Bhajan Kutir, or there's some temple Kirtan, or there's, a house program where people are having Kirtan, or people are just walking down the street doing Kirtan, or the Harinam is going around doing Kirtan, or there's some like Pandal, some like, preaching program, outdoor program going on campus there that's doing Kirtan. It's just like nonstop holy names being broadcast to everybody. Yeah. It's just really nice. All right. Anyone else want to share some reflections?
I appreciate Lord Chaitanya's mood of wanting to devise a trick to do anything possible to see if someone will take up Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, he wanted to catch everyone. There's another place where it's described how Lord Chaitanya cast a net. He threw out a big net to try to just catch everyone, and he didn't want anyone to slip through the holes there. Evan saying, in our own bhajan, we go deep. In our preaching, we go far and wide. Yeah. So we go deep. We like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, quaff deeply the nectar of the holy names, just drink it deeply. So we drink it very deeply when we're chanting japa. We just like let that go very, very deep. And then when it comes to distribution, then we pull it out. Bring it in and pull it out. All right, Brihat, something else?
Yeah, Lord Chaitanya took sannyas from a Mayavad lineage in order to effectively spread Krishna consciousness. So what do we need to do because there's not an explosion happening in North America. What do we need to adjust in order to make a Hare Krishna explosion?
Yeah, we just have to find out the reason, because Mayavadi sannyasis were respected. Those were like the leaders of spiritual circles were these Mayavadi sannyasis. So we have to find out what kind of people are respected in today's world. So yeah, I remember one time that Hridayananda Raj, this was a while ago, he was talking and he was encouraging devotees to go back to school, basically to get education. And he said that, and he did this himself, he went and got a PhD because he thought that, this is the equivalent of taking sannyas. In Lord Chaitanya's time, you would take sannyas and people would listen to you. Nowadays, if you get a PhD, then they'll invite you to give a class and people will listen to you because they think this is an expert, this is a scholar, they know what they're talking about. So that's one example. If you want to preach to educated people, then you need to become highly educated so that they respect your level of scholarship and they'll listen to you. It just depends on what kind of people you want to, if you want to preach to business people, then, become like a successful business person. And then they'll see, wow, this person knows something that I don't know. I can learn some tricks from them. And then you can also, you can tell them what your business secrets were and say, well, the reason that I'm so successful is I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I chant, I do mantra meditation on this mantra, which, empowers me and enables me to focus my mind on everything else. Like when I focus on my japa, then that it's a mental discipline, which carries over into everything that I do. So everything I do after that becomes focused and disciplined and I can be effective like that. So just just figure out who your audience is, who you're trying to reach, and then what are the people that they're listening to, and then get that qualification so that they'll listen to you. Okay. Any last thing? All right. Otherwise, I don't mind stopping a little early because I have to give another class in 12 minutes.
Classic.
What's that?
Classic.
Classic, class after classic. All right. Well, thank you very much for your kind attention. I'll see you tomorrow. We're going to do the next one. And can't remember which one it is, but I'll let you know on WhatsApp.
Jai, thank you.
Ki jai.
Jai.
Ki
Jai.
jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari.
Haribo.
Nitai,
Thank you, Prabhu. Jai.
Thank you.
We
Right.
love you.